I've been a car guy for years, and when people say their car is stage 2, I just nod and pretend to know what they mean. If you've ever been on car forums, checking out modified car listings, or looking for upgrades for your own ride, you've probably seen terms like stage 1, stage 2, something like that. But what do these tuning stages actually mean? Is it all just hype, or is there something real behind it? In today's episode of Dynovox Insights, we're diving in to break down what these tuning stages are all about. Make sure you've smashed the subscribe button. Also, if you got any question, just leave it in the comment section. So here's the deal with stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. There's no clear rule for what defines each stage. It's basically a concept created by tuning brands to make it easier to sell packages and let customers clearly see how much horsepower they're getting. Stage 1 is usually no or minimal hardware upgrades, just tweaking the car's ECU to boost performance. Stage 2 steps it up with some hardware upgrades outside the engine, plus an ECU remap for more power. Stage 3 is about diving into the engine itself, swapping out internal parts for some serious power gains. So basically, stage 1 is the easiest and stage 3 is the most complex. Think of it like ordering at McDonald's. They make it simple with a few preset combos. You could just grab a basic chicken burger or go with a double quarter pounder with cheese. They've already paired up the ingredients, so you don't have to worry about choosing every little thing. It saves you time, and McDonald's serves you faster. Tuning brands do something similar. They bundle up parts and tunes into stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 kits to make it easier for you to choose based on your budget. You can also pick your parts one by one and have your ECU tuned specifically for your setup. In that case, it's not really stage 1, 2, or 3 anymore. Buying a stage 1 or stage 2 kit is perfect for tuning enthusiasts, while DIY tuning is for the more experienced players looking for a custom build. In general, stage 1 remaps can provide a power increase of around 20 to 30%, which can be a significant boost if you're looking to improve your car's performance. So how's that achieved? The first thing we'll adjust is the fuel injection. But before we dive into how to adjust it, we need to understand the air-fuel ratio. This is the balance between the air coming into the engine and the fuel being injected. The ideal air-fuel ratio is 14.7 to 1, meaning 14.7 parts air for every 1 part of fuel. This ratio gives the most complete burn. In real-world situations, if you inject a bit less fuel, like an air-fuel ratio of 16 to 1, the engine will run more efficiently and save fuel. If you inject more fuel, like a 12 to 1 ratio, the engine will make more power. Since most factory settings are tuned for better fuel economy, there's usually a trade-off in power. By reprogramming the ECU, you can adjust the fuel injection for different driving conditions, which changes the air-fuel ratio. By injecting more fuel, you sacrifice fuel economy for more power. The next key adjustment is the ignition timing, which is when the spark plug fires. When you first learn about engines, you might hear that the spark happens when the piston reaches the top of its stroke, which is also known as the top dead center or TDC. But that's just a simple way to explain it. In reality, the spark happens just before the piston hits TDC. Take a look at the diagram. At this point, the piston is still moving up and hasn't reached the top yet. The angle between the crankshaft and the vertical line is 18 degrees, and the spark plug has already fired. This 18-degree difference is called the ignition advance angle. But why do we advance ignition? Because the air-fuel mixture takes time to burn, it doesn't ignite and explode instantly. As shown in the diagram, ignition happens 18 degrees before TDC, but the full combustion process takes until the crankshaft passes the vertical line by 23 degrees to complete the burn. Also, ignition timing changes with engine speed. For example, to complete combustion after the crankshaft passes 23 degrees, you might need 18 degrees of advance at 1200 RPM. But if you're running at 8600 RPM, you might need to advance the timing by 40 degrees. This is because as engine speed increases, the piston moves faster. So, the crankshaft spends less time in each phase, and the flame doesn't have enough time to burn, so we need to advance the timing more. The goal of adjusting ignition timing is to make sure the engine gets the most power out of the combustion process. If the combustion reaches maximum pressure when the piston is still moving up, you're wasting energy. If it happens too late, when the piston is near the bottom, that energy is wasted too. Be careful though, if you advance the timing too much, you could get knocking or detonation. This happens when parts of the cylinder, other than near the spark plug, get so hot and pressurized that they ignite the fuel early. This is harmful to your engine. The right ignition advance isn't a fixed number. It depends on things like the air-fuel ratio, engine temperature, engine speed, load, and even the type of fuel you're using. So, because you've already adjusted the air-fuel ratio, it affects the ignition timing too. To get the most power without causing knocking, you have to tune both together. By the way, if you were using 92-octane fuel before, but your Stage 1 remap requires 95-octane fuel, make sure you switch. The remap is set up with ignition timing for higher-octane fuel, which resists knocking better. If you stick with low-octane fuel, you could risk engine damage. This is a wastegate on a turbocharger. Here's the intake side, and here's the exhaust side. Exhaust gases flow through here, driving the turbine to spin, which in turn drives the compressor on the intake side to boost air pressure. The amount of intake boost depends on the exhaust pressure that builds up. From the factory, manufacturers typically set conservative boost limits to prioritize reliability. When exhaust pressure reaches a certain threshold, this wastegate moves to the left, opening this channel to divert some of the exhaust gases. These gases bypass the turbine, controlling the turbocharger's maximum boost pressure. In the past, wastegates were vacuum-controlled. With advancements in electronic systems, most wastegates are now ECU-controlled. In Stage 1 tuning, the program controlling the wastegate's operation is adjusted to allow for a higher peak boost, increasing power output. Additionally, Stage 1 tuning often involves changes to intake timing and valve lift. For example, with Honda's VTC system, Stage 1 tuning typically advances the VTC engagement point. If your Honda originally engaged VTC at 6,500 RPM, tuning might adjust it to 5,500 RPM. This allows earlier intake flow optimization to align with the changes made to fuel injection, ignition timing, and boost pressure discussed in the previous section. Stage 1 tuning isn't just about increasing power, it also addresses factory settings designed for conservatism. Since the 21st century, electronic throttle control has almost entirely replaced cable-driven throttles. The throttle, or gas pedal, essentially controls the throttle body, regulating the amount of air entering the engine. With a cable throttle, the pedal connects to the throttle body via a physical cable. Pressing the pedal pulls the cable, directly opening the throttle. Cable throttles offer excellent response with no delay. In contrast, electronic throttles have no physical connection between the pedal and throttle body. Instead, the pedal is equipped with position sensors that detect how far you press it. These sensors send signals to the ECU, which then controls a motor to open or close the throttle. While electronic throttles enable advanced features like adaptive cruise control, they often lack the instant responsiveness and linear feel that car enthusiasts prefer. Some manual transmission cars even exhibit hanging revs where engine RPM doesn't drop immediately after releasing the throttle. This happens because the ECU momentarily keeps the throttle slightly open for smoother operation. The stock tunings prioritize comfort and fuel efficiency, but can sacrifice driving engagement. With Stage 1 tuning, you can address these issues to restore a more responsive and enjoyable driving experience. Another tuning commonly done is the rev limiter. With increased power output, the factory set rev limiter often needs to be raised. For example, if your car originally had a rev limiter at 7,000 RPM, Stage 1 tuning might increase it to 7,800 RPM. This allows the engine to fully utilize its torque at higher RPMs. However, the exact limit depends on the engine's safety margin. In addition to the maximum rev limiter, some programs also modify the launch control rev limiter. This refers to the rev limit when the car is stationary and you floor the throttle for a launch. Adjusting this helps align the launch control with the increased power output after tuning. With Stage 1 tuning, you can typically gain 20 to 50 horsepower, depending on your vehicle model and the tuning program. Overall, you'll notice a significant boost in power during everyday driving. So, thank you for watching and happy tuning! Before wrapping up the video, I'd like to ask you all to subscribe to our channel for more informative and interesting content like this. By subscribing, you'll never miss an update from us, and it will help us bring you even more great videos in the future. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay updated on our latest content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.